Talking more trades on today's show. The NFL trade deadline is just a few days away. We're called a week and a half at this point, I guess. The Cowboys have made trades in season in 5 of the last 6 years. So the odds say they will probably make another move. It just might not be the big, sexy, splashy one that everyone wants on social media, etc. Some of my main areas of concern, varying degrees of importance and desire to add somebody / chances of finding somebody. Still don't have the offensive line. Would love more help, said all 32 NFL teams. Linebacker is still thin. Corner, if you're worried about one of your top 3 guys getting hurt. If you want a running back, sure. Wide receiver, although I do think for the offense, it's that the O-line's not played great, and I don't love McCarthy's scheme so far, at least this year. Now, if you love what we're doing here on the Cowboys Report, if you love multiple videos over the course of each day, then share today's video. Text, tweet, or X, I guess. Facebook, whatever. Share it for me on social media as we break down some Cowboys trade targets. First up at cornerback, that is Jaylon Johnson of the Chicago Bears. I think it's a good name. It's a bigger name, a more impactful piece that everyone wants to have, and I think he's actually potentially available. The Bears are not very good. Now, it's almost the point that they might try to keep him so that they don't get fired, because if they keep losing, they're going to get fired. At least the head coach is going to get canned, so he probably doesn't want to trade Johnson away, but Bears aren't going to trade him, or re-sign him, They should consider trading him. Now, I think some other teams have bigger needs at corner. They might outbid you. I could see Johnson going for a 2, because I think a 3rd or a 4th he ends up getting at minimum via the comp pick market. But it's a notable name at a spot that some think is a position of need. I would be remiss not to mention it. Now, look, finding offensive linemen, damn if it ain't hard to make that happen. And if your starting 5 is healthy, you probably aren't going to go trade for someone. Who here trusts your starting 5 O-line to stay healthy the remainder of the season? I don't. We know Tyron's going to go down at some point. Here's a replacement. It's Garett Bolles, left tackle for Denver. The contract isn't the greatest. That's a very real and valid red flag. But he's been pretty solid this year. 10 hurries allowed all season. You're getting beat twice a game in pass protection. I think that's pretty good. And if you can be a bit better of a run blocker with maybe Tyler Smith alongside him helps him out, there could be some really good chances there to make this offensive line at least more stable when the injury happens. Now, what are you thinking? Be honest with me here. What is the % chance the Dallas Cowboys make a trade before or at this year's NFL trade deadline? It's the pinned comment on today's show, so if the ad comes here on YouTube, that's fine. Take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. Another Denver player here. We won't have too many more of those. Josey, Jewell. You want an off-ball linebacker that can stop the run, be decent in coverage. I think Jewell is one of the 2 bigger names that are feasibly available. That makes sense. Hasn't been as impactful this season. That entire Broncos defense sucks. I don't think Vance Joseph is actually that good of a defensive coordinator. Sorry if you're a Vance Joseph truther. I think Jewell would be better in a different situation. Back to the offensive line. I'm having a tough time finding pieces. Michael Onwenu of the New England Patriots has played kind of all over the offensive line for New England. He's played some guard, played some tackle in a pinch, by the way, which helps you in the event of injuries. Has been banged up as well. Has not graded out nearly as bad or as well as he did last year as a run blocker. But last year, he was one of the more underrated guards in the entire NFL. Hasn't been as good this year. Injury, position flex has kind of, I think, dinged him a little bit. The Patriots need offensive line, so they might not trade him. But I would call him and say, I don't like trading with Bill. He often wins those trades. But for O-line help, if I call him, maybe I'll have some more success as opposed to, him calling me. A much cheaper running back option, Foreman. Now, the injury to Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson being in concussion protocol might make this a little bit more unlikely. However, he's cheap. I think he's available at the time as well. Now, this would be his 4th team in 3 years if you traded for him. But after having almost 1,000 yards in Carolina, he has been a scratch in several different Bears games. He was RB4. He doesn't help on special teams, but Travis Homer did. I doubt you're going to get, 2022, Deontay Foreman, but again, offensive line matters. His yards per carry over the last 3 seasons on a much smaller sample size, to be fair, is the same as Derrick Henry. So he's not Derrick Henry, but he costs you a fraction of what it would be for the big name. So if you want to go get it back, this is actually a name I would strongly consider. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. You should not be stressing when it comes to buying tickets to whatever event you want to go for at the last minute. They have killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and my favorite feature, views from your seat. Just take that phone and look at left and right and up and down if you need to, or whatever. Use promo code CowboysChat for $20 off once you download the Game Time app and create an account. $20 off your first purchase when you use promo code CowboysChat. That's Cowboys Chat. Download Game Time today for last-minute tickets, lowest price, all guaranteed. I love their zone deals. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats for, on average, 18% savings. Who cares where you're sitting? Does it matter if you're sitting in seat 5 or seat 15? I don't think it matters at all. Why not save a little bit of extra money with Game Time, plus the code gets you $20 off your first purchase. Link will be in the comments and the description, but again, it's gametime.co. Use promo code CowboysChat. Jordan Hicks has actually played very well in Minnesota. I think that's some Brian Flores bump out there. Again, if you want a linebacker, I think Hicks fits the mold really well. He can do some stuff in coverage. He'll be around the football. He's not a superstar player. He is aging, but he's an affordable rental at a spot that maybe you don't love Damone Clark, and if you want to help stop the run in some situations, maybe Hicks ends up going well or helping you out from that perspective. Now, a bigger name also in Minnesota is Danielle Hunter. I think Hunter would be maybe not a first-round pick at his age and his contract, but at minimum, a 2. He has 8 sacks this year, right? He's been awesome in Minnesota. He is thriving. He looks like the 2019 version of Hunter. Is actually off to a better start. He'll probably cool down a little bit, but if you want an edge, it can be a 3-down edge for you, and give a breather to Tank and Dorrance Armstrong, etc., and play Micah Moore at off-ball linebacker. Hunter is the big name you should consider inquiring about. Now we have daily Dallas Cowboys videos just for you, sometimes multiple times per day. Hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. Marquise Hollywood Brown. Already got moved once. Cardinals, I think they want to give Murray a chance with his playmakers, so maybe they wouldn't make this move. But he hasn't been that great. Remember when the Cardinals gave a first-round pick for him, and they got a third back, whatever, so an early 2. Can you get him for a third? Maybe. If you're adding a receiver, I'd like to add more speed and get guys that can get open with that speed and the route running to a certain extent for Hollywood Brown. It means I'm benching Gallup. It's fine. My biggest issue overall when it comes to adding a wide receiver, look, you want to play Gallup less? I get it. Don't get me wrong. Do we think Mike McCarthy can utilize the personnel properly? This adding a receiver right now kind of feels like you have a 2-year-old at home. You bought her a new toy, or maybe an older kid to not make it so much directed towards me. You bought them a new toy. They're not playing with it, and now they're asking for a new toy. No, buy the one you're not using. Play with that one. Then maybe we'll get you a second toy if you show that you're going to use them both. That's kind of where I'm at when it comes to adding a wide receiver. But I get everyone wants to talk about him, so that's fair. Let's hit the 2 Broncos receivers then next. Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton. Both guys have some flaws in their game, production being a big factor of them. You can compare Jeudy to Michael Gallup numbers, and they ain't looking that different. The other problem is over the next 2 seasons, Sutton's coming this year for the most part. Jeudy's coming next year. The total guaranteed money, and there's some prorated numbers that actually bring Sutton below Jeudy. He's got $2 million guaranteed next year on his $14 million salary this year. So the total money owed for Sutton would probably be somewhere in like the 9 to 10, probably the $10 million range. Jeudy's at about 15. Jeudy's contract next year is fully guaranteed, and he has not lived up to expectations. Sutton brings you more size. Jeudy brings you better route running. If you had to trade for one, who would it be? Maybe Jeudy's a little bit more expensive, but I think it might be pretty similar. JJ for Jerry Jeudy, CS for Courtland Sutton. Back to corner. Hey, I'm a fan of Kenny Moore. If you don't want to play Jordan Lewis or you want more nickel corner depth, Kenny Moore is a great fit. And the reason why I like him, he's an awesome run defender. Maybe not as good as he was back in 2021. Had 102 tackles that year. Holy cow. But he's a good run defender. And if you're going to live in nickel, like the vast majority of teams do, having a good run stopper at that spot actually goes a pretty long way. One more offensive name, Cordarrelle Patterson. Many of you mentioned him before this season began. I think he could bring you some life. And if you're going to miss more time from Kevontae Turpin, I'd have even more interest because since he offers you return value, but you're kind of in good shape there. Patterson's not playing in Atlanta. His numbers this year have barely changed his career stats. It's like 2 catches and like 1 carry for no yards, something ridiculous there. Patterson's making a bit of money, offers you more return value there. If you trusted McCarthy to maximize him, it makes sense. My issue here is I think the Patterson role and the Turpin role would be a little bit too similar for the way Mike McCarthy wants to run his team. So name a player who you want to trade for. I'd say keep it realistic, but have some fun. We'll get to some, non-realistic names coming up next year. Name a player who you want to trade for. 6 names you shouldn't get your hopes up for. The running backs, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. Unconvinced that they end up getting moved in the grand scheme of things. Oh, and also they'd be kind of expensive money and trade-wise, I think. I would love Pat Surtain. It ain't going to happen. I don't see Denver trading him. Aaron Donald, I'd love to get him, but that's a pipe dream right there. Falcons aren't trading Kyle Pitts, and I don't think the Raiders end up trading away Davante Adams in spite of it.